Now, let's get straight to the panel. Joining us from Melbourne, former Labor Minister Stephen Conroy, and in the studio, political author John Ruddick. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Good evening, Chris.
Good evening.
I've got to start with you, Stephen, because it was all about Labor today. We had a reshuffle of sorts by Anthony Albanese. A better place for Labor to be in terms of climate? Is it something that should have been done maybe late last year when our attentions were drawn elsewhere? What do you think about what happened today?
Look, I think normally the end of the year is the time. The opposition traditionally always waits to see what the government does because it's got to meld its portfolio allocation around what the government does. And unfortunately, during the early part of January, when it was obvious that Labor were getting ready to make their changes, unfortunately, Albo had a kid, T-bone him. So we're probably a couple of weeks delayed from the optimal timing, but the circumstances were beyond Albo's control. So it is a pity that that's happened, but never mind. The team is announced. I thought you were a little unkind earlier, Chris, in your discussion. I think that some talented people have got new areas to focus on. Obviously, Richard Marles, Chris Bowen, Mark Butler knows a lot about aged care. I was in Cabinet when he was the aged care minister and he worked on a range of those issues and some of those health impacts. So Mark Butler's got a lot of experience. And I think the Labor Party's given itself a chance to draw a line in the sand on the climate argument.
I have a feeling that you think a lot more of Chris Bowen than I do. Don't forget, we had 24,000 boats come into or 24,000 people on various boats come in under his watch as Immigration Minister. And then what did he do in the election in terms of some of what he wanted to take away from superannuation? That was a disaster. Can we trust Chris Bowen on this portfolio?
Look, I think firstly, your recollection's unfortunately not 100% accurate. Yes, we were dealing with a mass increase in the number of migrants, but we moved immediately to block those, and the High Court, in a very serious shock decision, overturning previous rulings of judges that had ruled previously, knocked over the law, and then the Liberal Party and the Greens combined. But the Liberal Party combined to block laws that would have allowed us to stop the flow. So never leave that out of your debate on this. Yes, Chris had a tough time in the Treasury portfolio, always hard for a Labor Treasurer in opposition. But on climate change, I think he'll bring a more nuanced touch. I think he'll be more cognizant of the economic impact. And I would hope that probably the worst day in that last election for me was to sit there and try and support the uncosted climate change policy. That was a very tough day, very bad day.
Yep, and that will be his first question on the first day of the campaign.
Yeah, and I think Chris won't fall into that trap.
Okay.
I think our policy will be sound and it will be costed. I don't want to predict what it'll be yet, but I think obviously there'll be a change in emphasis, and I think that's a good thing. If you want to win seats in Queensland, you want to win seats in Western Australia, you've got to change the policy.
Yeah, I would agree, and I said that it was a constructive thing to do,
Absolutely.
But it's a tiny, weeny bit that needs to be done. The rest of it is, where's your policy, where's your costings, and have you really been convinced with your leader?
Well, look, I want to say this is a good day for Australia. This tells us that Anthony Albanese, the leader of the Labor Party, doesn't really that seriously believe in a global warming apocalypse. Because Butler was Mr Global Warming.
Yeah.
Chris Bowen has been on the right of the Labor Party. He's he markets himself as the Paul Keating of this generation. You know, very right wing on economics. This is a good day. Now, look, I know that Stephen Conroy and his friends in the Labor Party are just sitting on their edge of their seat, waiting for political advice from John Ruddick. But the truth is, Stephen, I truly do want to see a viable opposition.
Yeah.
And I've always liked Albo. But let me give you a prophecy here, Mr Conroy. Albo's going to lose the election. Now, you've got one hope to win this next election, and his name is Richard Marles.
I thought today Richard Marles performed better than Albo behind that podium, Stephen.
Oh, look, I thought they both gave a strong performance. And I think you'll see that the Albo Marles team will now get a chance as the dramas around both the bushfires and the tragedies of the bushfires and then the tragedies brought on by coronavirus will allow the Labor Party and Albo and Richard to put a stamp on our policy agenda and to build momentum. I mean, the Australian public did not want politicking during the bushfire, and they absolutely did not want politicking during this pandemic. And Albo gets marks from me because he's not been prepared to play the cheap politics around the pandemic.
He got very close on occasion.